On this episode, I'm talking to the high school graduates. Here are some tips to get you on the path towards home ownership. Coming up. Welcome, I am your host, Steve Penate, realtor and host of the Steve Talks Real Estate Show, where we bring you value, content, and tips in all things real estate and housing related. So it's graduation season. I've probably been to a handful of graduations already. Nonetheless, I have a passion to help young people get on the right path of financial stewardship. So if you are a high school graduate, I want to help you out. Okay, I made some terrible mistakes right out of high school. When I was in college, I got into debt and I had to pay a high price later on in my late 20s. So I want to talk to high school graduates. If you know someone who is a high school graduate, I want you to share this with them, okay? I want to help young people avoid the stupid mistakes I made financially that I had to pay a high price later on. So I don't want to tell you them, I want to show you them. Let me go write them down. Follow me. Come on, let's go. So I remember 18 years old, right out of high school, I went right to ASU, lived in the dorms. I thought I was living the dream. Being 18, I was away from home, no mama to tell me what to do. I can do anything I wanted, right? Well, I made some pretty stupid decisions, and especially when it came to money, okay? So I wanna give you 3 tips that you should begin to think about them today if you're graduating in this season, okay? I'm gonna write them down. Come on, let's go. So, 3 things. If you're graduating from high school, okay, avoid these things. Avoid these financial mistakes as much as possible, okay? So here we go, okay? The first one is this, okay? Number 1, this is one of the biggest mistakes young people do is you are eligible now to get a credit card, yet we see time and time again, so many households are in deep credit card debt, and reason why is this: they didn't learn early on how to behave with money. So you want to avoid credit cards at all costs. I remember on the ASU campus, okay, there were credit card companies literally just hounding college students. Hey guys, come over here, apply for a credit card. Guess what I did? I was all like, oh my gosh, I could get a credit card. So I went, I applied. In 2 months, I had maxed out my first credit card with $1,000 credit limit. Guess what? I didn't make payments on it. I was in college. I wasn't worried about making payments on anything. Didn't make payments on it. The interest kept on accumulating, and then I kept getting late payments. All of a sudden, I was in collections. $1,000 debt turned into paying it off for over $3,000. If you don't have the money for it, you can't afford it. College student, listen up. Right now, you have to live off of ramen. You gotta live off of 99-cent menus, whatever you gotta do. Don't get into credit card debts to impress people that won't even be in your life 10 years from today. You don't need those fancy jeans. You don't need to be eating fancy. You're 18 years old. Enjoy your college years. Stay in the library, hustle, get into hustle mode, and say no to credit cards. Number 2, you do not want to finance a car when you're 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old. That's stupid. Save up, get a job this summer, hustle, do what you gotta do, and buy a little beater. You don't need to be financing a car. It's incredible how many young people walk into dealerships and walk out with interest rates 18%, 24%. Do you realize if you're buying a car that is worth $18,000. You'll pay $35,000 to $40,000 for it, and by the time you graduate college, it's only worth $4,000. It's the stupidest thing financially you could do. Buy a beater, save up for something decent, $3,000, $4,000, $6,000. Save up some money, ask your parents for help. See if people can come and rally around you. Tell them your plan. I don't want to get in debt. I am working, or I'm going to college, or whatever it is you're doing. There are ways to get around this, okay? Don't finance a car, okay? I know that some people might say, oh, but people have to learn responsibility and so on. There are other ways to do that, okay? The last thing you want to do is have this hanging over your head every single month. You don't need a fancy Camaro. You don't need a fancy Mustang. Get a car that takes you from point A to B. You know why? Because you are getting on a proper route, on a healthy route towards financial stewardship. Number 3, avoid student loans as much as possible. Do you know that right now in the United States, one of our biggest debts is student loans? As a matter of fact, the percentage is outrageous in regards to how many college students are not paying their student loans. It's crazy how many college students, leave college with $60,000 in student loans and end up with a job paying them only $32,000 a year. Do the math there. You owe $60,000 in student loans and you're only getting paid $32,000 a year. You might be asking yourself, well, how am I going to pay for college? Get a job and pay your way through college. What's another way? Scholarships, okay? There are a gazillion scholarships out there. Okay, do you realize there are millions of unclaimed dollars out there in scholarships simply because you don't want to put the work in to do the work it takes to get the scholarships? Okay, get with your high school advisors, get with other college students that have done this, whatever you got to do. Okay, I want to encourage you. Okay, if your plan is to go to college, avoid student loans as much as possible. Okay, if you're a high school graduate that is going right into the workforce, well then pay attention to these right here, okay? Number 1 and number 2, okay? Right now at a young age is when you can hustle, is when you eat ramen, okay? You have to live today like nobody else so that you can live tomorrow like nobody else. Well, that wraps up episode number 78 of the Steve Talks Real Estate Show. I got passionate on this one because I am passionate about people getting on the right path of financial stewardship. If you are a high school student or know someone in high school, share this video with them. Get them this knowledge early on. Keep sending in your questions and I will do my best to keep answering them. We'll see you next time.